Hello and welcome. You're watching Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. Our big focus tonight. It's been 20 years since the social media revolution began globally, transforming our lives and the world we inhabit beyond recognition. Facebook, arguably the world's most popular social network, has completed 20 years of its existence on the World Wide Web and in our lives. Looking back, we may wonder how we lived in the pre-Facebook era. How we connected with the world, especially old friends who we had lost touch with. How we put ourselves out there. How we tom-tommed our achievements and felt good about ourselves. How we shared pictures of our birthday celebrations and vacations and the parties we attended. How we boasted about our skills, real and imaginary, in front of the world. How we expressed our views with the world on anything and everything under the sun. You get the idea. It's a long list. Today we live in the world of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp and the like. We cannot imagine a world without social media where we don't get to share minute updates on our lives, sometimes several times a day. Many believe if it's not on social media, it never happened. It's all pervasive. We're all social media addicts. Most of us anyway are. Therefore, to say that social media has altered our lives and the world around us irreversibly would be an understatement. On Sunday, the 4th of February, Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of and visionary behind Facebook, commemorated the platform's 20th anniversary. Facebook has undoubtedly evolved into a global phenomenon, remaining a central hub for connection and communication worldwide. Zuckerberg reflected on the journey in a heartfelt Instagram post, sharing a montage video encapsulating pivotal moments from the past 2 decades. The caption says, 20 years in, still at it. Despite multiple challenges, Facebook's impact remains undeniable. In 2023, it boasted over 3 billion monthly users, showcasing a steady growth trajectory. With a net worth currently valued at $169.5 billion, Mark Zuckerberg has become the 4th wealthiest individual, surpassing Bill Gates. Zuckerberg and a handful of his friends launched Facebook from their student digs 20 years ago. Since then, the world's most popular social network has been redesigned dozens of times. But its aim has remained the same: to connect people online and make mountains of money from advertising. For one, it changed the social media game, revolutionizing it in multiple ways. Even though other sites like Orkut and MySpace existed before Facebook, none of them took off the way Facebook did. And while a majority of Gen Z users prefer Instagram to Facebook, the latter still remains the most popular social network in the world. And after all, it is the same company that we're talking about. Another change brought about by Facebook is that it made our personal data valuable, but far less personal. While privacy seems to be a thing of the past, Facebook has proved that collecting likes and dislikes for its users is extremely lucrative. Facebook's parent company, Meta, is an advertising giant, which, alongside the likes of Google, takes the lion's share of global advertising money. But Facebook has also shown where data collection can go wrong. Meta has been fined multiple times for mishandling personal data. The most publicized case was the Cambridge Analytica scandal in 2014, which led to Facebook paying $725 million to settle legal action due to a significant data breach. Many argue that Facebook made the internet political. By offering targeted advertising, Facebook has become a major platform for election campaigning around the globe. In the 5 months leading up to the US presidential election of 2020, incumbent President Donald Trump's team spent more than $40 million on Facebook advertisements, according to Statista research. Facebook and Twitter were said to be crucial during the Arab Spring in helping coordinate protests and spread the news about what was happening on the ground. But the adoption of Facebook for political ends has been criticized for some of its consequences, including its impact on human rights. In 2018, Facebook agreed with a UN report which said that it had failed to prevent people using the platform to incite offline violence against the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. Facebook, without a shadow of doubt, kickstarted Meta's dominance in the digital sphere, helping Zuckerberg build a massive tech empire. Up and coming companies, including WhatsApp, Instagram, and Oculus, were all purchased and reimagined under the umbrella company Facebook, which changed its name to Meta in 2021. While Facebook could face some big challenges in the years ahead, given how fast paced changes in the tech world tend to be, even with the adoption of AI, fact is, for now, the platform is a global force to reckon with. On Global Lens tonight, we're asking, as Facebook completes 20 years, just how has social media changed our world and us? And what can we expect in the times to come? All right, let's go straight across to our guests. Joining me on the show tonight, Stuti Ghosh, well-known radio jockey and film critic, Jiten Jain, director, Voyager InfoSec, a well-known cybersecurity expert, and in just a moment, we're hoping to be joined by Alankrita Sahai, former Miss India and an actor. All right, Stuti, let me start with you. Welcome to Global Lens. As I said, we live in the digital era today where most of us, if not all of us, are social media addicts. There are some who would tell you if it's not on social media, it never happened. Tell us about your personal experience. How has social media touched and transformed your life? I really wonder how we survived 20 years ago.
I know. Okay, I'm going to begin by thanking you, Neha. Thank you for having me on your show. When I was listening to your opening remarks, I was just wondering 20 years with social media, and you can't even imagine a world where it wasn't there. So our generation, the millennials, as they put it, we were born in an era where there was no social media, and then we kind of adapted to everything, the perils and the promise that it had to offer. But I think nothing else has changed our world or shaped our mind, our response, the way we think, as social media has. And it's now just unimaginable, especially when you talk about Gen Zs, for them to even think that there was a time when you would do something and not put it on social media, when you would eat out and not click the photo of the picture of the food first. But it's been such a part of everything that we do now. And while we must acknowledge the positives, the fact that today, quite literally, you're in touch with the whole world. And just with the convenience of a click, you can put across your opinion, you can reach out to people who you would never have had the chance to even meet in your lifetime. Of course, that's fantastic. It sometimes seems just unbelievable how something like this has come about. However, that also gets us to the other point, which is that you know the responsibility of it. Just the fact that social media as a tool is so powerful that it can literally make and break lives. And we see a lot of that happening today. While so many of us, it's almost like a parallel plane in which you live. So there's the real world, and then there is the virtual world where which we all access. In fact, all of us are addicted to it. You're scrolling Instagram, Facebook, X so many times in a day. And just thinking about it, the notifications keep getting you back onto that virtual plane. A lot of people are employed. That's where you work. It was unthinkable if you could tell your parents that, we put out 90-second videos and that is how you earn a living. But that's how things are today. So I think it's just absolutely amazing. But going forward, what we need to work on is that all the dopamine kick is fine. All the feeling good with the likes and comments one side. How do we contain this? Because when you talk about growth, and when you talk about a person deciding what they want in life or how to think, like you yourself said, how Facebook became political. So how do you curtail the perils of social media, which at times almost makes you believe in the false reality, like what we just witnessed with Punam Pande. Like, it was just social media, right, that made you believe that the person who's alive is actually dead, and a trick like that could be played. And I know a lot of comments questioned the role of media here, but that's just how the world has become now. That you put a if you have a confirmation on social media, it is the responsibility of the media to put out that story. It's just how we've started consuming news as well. So it kind of, I think what we just witnessed in this case puts into perspective how we still need ways to to tame this devil and to really understand it.
It's very well put, Stuti. Let me go across to Jitin Jain now. Though I must point out, Stuti, that by calling yourself and me millennials, you've given away our age. But that's okay. I guess I can live with that. I would certainly not go as far as to call myself Gen Z. All right, Jitin Jain, another millennial, might I add, joining us on the show. Jitin, 20 years of Facebook and social media that's transformed your life and mine and that of everyone we know. Like, Stuti and I were discussing, it's hard to imagine a world now without social media. I don't know how we managed things 20 years ago. Perhaps the personal connection was much better now. But the lines between personal and virtual seem to have almost entirely blurred. While Facebook has revolutionized, many would say, the human connection and communication, the way we manage to stay in touch with people, this, that, and the other. But there is also the dark side to it. The multiple occasions on which Facebook has been fined for either failing to counter misinformation or the spread of hate, or for that matter, the multiple data breaches that have caused alarm around the globe. Boon or bane, whichever way you look at it, social media is here to stay. But how would you encapsulate Facebook's 20-year journey?
Look, Neha, first of all, I mean, it's been a glorious journey. Probably Facebook is the only social media platform which have survived more than a decade. I mean, when we were in college, we saw hi-fi platforms like Orkut coming to age, Foursquare, but all of them withered away with time. Maybe one survived for 5 years, another one survived for 6, 7 years. But probably Facebook is the only social media platform which has survived more than 2 decades, and it's been a fascinating journey. I mean, no doubt that Facebook has transformed our lives, the way we network with our old friends, old colleagues, old relatives. I mean, who could have imagined 2 decades ago that you will be able to keep in touch with a person whom you studied 20 years ago in a primary school? Who would have thought that you'll be able to find a lost friend from 20 years ago from a kindergarten on Facebook and social media and keep in touch? Who would have known that you'll be able to see the updates of your families who are living in different geographies, different places, and different phases of life, what they are doing, the arrival of new kids, they're getting married. And so you've been able to be, literally a virtual part of their life journey. Lives are so connected. But beyond that, I mean, the fellow panelists are pointing out that today we cannot see a world where kids don't take a picture of the food they eat and post on social media. I mean, we post every moment of our life on social media. There is so much of open data which we are putting out in the absence of any privacy policy that today, literally from social media network, Facebook has transformed into a tech titan or a tech behemoth, which is in a way much beyond the geography and size and scale of any country. They are much more powerful than any government in the world. And kind of data today they're literally able to decide what clothes you will wear, which places you'll visit. I mean, by looking at the reels on Instagram, you decide which restaurant to go, what food to eat, which friends to make, what political thinking you should have, whom to vote. I mean, in a way, Facebook is also deciding whom you will date, which girl and guy you will date, and you will get married. I mean, there is so the way they have they consolidated themselves at tech behemoths by acquiring platforms like Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram. Today, I mean, everything what you do on a mobile phone, literally 60 to 70% a part of it is owned by Google or Facebook. So I think there is going to be a governance challenge in the times to come. And there is also going to be a challenge that the evolution of Facebook from a social media network or a social media platform to a political canvas, which has now, showing a new avatar of Facebook, which is full of hate, misinformation, and trolling. Today, if you see, and if you compare Facebook to 10 years ago, 70 to 80% of the content was about the personal lives of people, their personal updates. Today, 70 to 80% of the content on Facebook is about political ideologies, political thoughts, about political parties, their political campaigns, leaders, and their opinions. And then you see the arguments happening among people full of hate, verbal assaults. So today, Facebook is not only a social media platform, it is also probably an open platform full of hate speech, bigotry, harassing, bullying, and whatever you can imagine. Third, Facebook today is only the platform, and I'm talking about Facebook, we're talking also about Meta and Instagram, that they have brought strangers closer to your home. I mean, today, this generation is much more comfortable talking to a stranger online, to a person with whom they have never seen, whom they have never met, whom they have never known. They don't know what their family backgrounds, where they stay, what they do, what their culture, lifestyle, or nature is. But they're comfortable talking to them. And in a way, it is opening it is opening a window of tomorrow, these people becoming a victims of cyber harassment, bullying, sexual assaults, and all those things. So these are challenges which are going to remain. And then there is a much bigger challenge which US regulators are also not talking about, is about the addiction of the social media platforms. I mean, you could debate about whether we use mobile for 6 hours, 7 hours, whether we do Instagram, Facebook for 4 hours or 3 hours. But I can assure that nobody would deny that we see our Facebook profile much more many times than we see our face in the mirror.
All
and
right.
That is the challenge today.
Multiple challenges, Jitin. We'll discuss them in greater detail. Let me now go across to Alankrita Sahai. Alankrita, we had some technical issues with your line, but great to have you on Global Lens.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful to have you, Alankrita. You know, we're talking about how Facebook is 20 years old and it revolutionized social media in such a way that our lives today are unrecognizable. We wonder today how we lived 20 years ago, without tom-tomming our achievements and sharing minute-to-minute updates on our lives and posting pictures of our birthday parties and vacations and this, that and the other. It's also made us very vain because, we're constantly looking for those likes and comments. But I want you to share your personal experience with us, Alankrita. You're a former Miss India, you're an actor, you're a model, you're an influencer, you have over 1 million followers on Instagram. What does social media mean to you? How have Facebook and Instagram touched your life?
To be very honest, the word that we're looking for in today's generation is that we're looking for validation. To begin with, when I won the title Miss India, the journey was quite different than what it is today for the Gen Z, the millennials, as we so say. I believe that when I joined the team and I won, social media was picking up. So Facebook pages, you had Twitter, you had Instagram, you had Snapchat, you had so many other portals where people were expressing themselves, showcasing their talent, gaining more followers, because it felt like every individual needs to have that access to me. For me to be famous is what the younger generation keeps thinking. But that's the only outlet, that's the only energy portal which is giving me the validation that I look my best self this way, that I am following trends, I am socially connected, I'm interconnected with people all over the world through different portals and mediums and channels, which helps me engage in probably getting which will help me probably win a battle that I'm currently in. But for me, to be very honest, I've not been a very a social media frenzy actor, influencer, or artist. So when I started, I didn't really have these followers. I should have had more followers by now if I had started the whole frenzy of being a part of the system and the social schematics of being a social media geek, nerd, or following the trends. So to be very honest, currently my life, yes, it does heavily get influenced by the current scenario that we have in the world that's going on. But back in the day when I started, all my friends had pages who won the pageant. They had followers. They were posting continuously because it was told to us that this matters. This is what matters about you. This is what will take you so far. Your presence on social media is so important. You need to keep garnering more attention, more news, because if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And I do not agree with this because I feel like your mental health, your mental peace, your ability to stand up for yourself, to be who you are, should not be completely dissipated and in the shadow of what the dark online web can also create for you to feel about yourself. So given the fact that what I'm trying to say is that, of course, the advent of social media has marked by Facebook's 20th anniversary has revolutionized the way we communicate, share information, and perceive the world. I would say it's all perception. It's a matter of perception. It's perceived loneliness, it's perceived happiness, perceived insomnia, perceived success, perceived riches. So I feel the digital phenomena has undeniably brought about positive, negative transformations in our society and in our individual lives, to be very honest. People are breaking up and they post their stories about their breakups. Their personal lives have become third-party shareholders' information as well, I would say, because everybody's seeing what you're doing and you want them to see that because you feel you're validated, you're important when the world knows what's going on about you. The idea of privacy, the idea of having your own quaint little time with yourself is completely disappeared. But for me, social media definitely today helps me bridge the boundaries, bridge the gaps. It's great social connectivity. As a matter of fact, why I would say that is because I could take my content, I could take what I've achieved so far as an individual with my own hard work, my dedication, to make sure that the other person who is in my similar field or in a similar sphere can recognize my work. I don't like to sell myself on social media in a way where, as an artist, it's very important to be present. If you see my social media, I don't post every day. I post once in a blue moon, or I'll probably post once in a week or twice in a week because it's important. I do post information on my stories. I do try to motivate people as much as possible about, because what social media has done today, when I was there, your body image, your self-hate, self-harm, substance abuse, so many things that were going on where I would notice people get influenced by people we look up to. We look up to our idols. We look at what they're wearing, what they're doing. We have all sorts of Instagram handles that are on Facebook and Meta and Meta's conglomerates where we see people looking at this actor or looking at this politician or looking at somebody they're influenced by and wanting to lose their individual personality, lose their individual beauty to copy paste someone. Today, everybody's looking the same because we have so many filters with the power, with the big eyes, and we want to look like that. But I feel like, why? Like, I'm an actor, to be very honest, right? A bit of knick and knack to make myself look good, or maybe I'm having a bad hair day. We all are human, to be very honest. The perceived idea of perfection that social media has created for the youth has severely caused a lot of damage mentally, emotionally, physically.
Very unrealistic beauty standards. Earlier we blamed it on Bollywood and the modeling industry. Now you can blame it on the social media. Everyone wants to look like a model or a movie star.
Yeah. And I don't think models and actors, we don't wake up like this. We're absolutely normal. But the point is, because what my concern more than an actor as a human being is because I have had certain, horrible, to be very honest, situation in my life where when I became an actor, people, I would say from my own family, have tried to use social media to bully me, to harass me, to morph videos and pictures and to hate, to create hate, to demean someone, to demolish your very own essence of being a woman and being the person you are. So people, with the whole idea of business opportunities, information sharing, social connectivity, interconnectedness, disseminating information, global friendships, and the entire frenzy of aiding political and social issues is great.
Yeah, but then there is the downside to it, and that's what I wanted to ask you about, Alankrita. The downside. While you've quite nicely and articulately explained how our vanity can best be described as a quest for validation, but there is a downside to all of this. For example, do you think that social media is making a lot of people delusional? Everybody thinks they can be famous. Everybody thinks they can be social media influencers today. Everybody thinks they can make a career out of social media and everything they put there. Also, the toxicity of it. The trolling, for example, especially that celebrities, that women are at the receiving end of. And at the same time, this has also hit our personal and real world connections in a big way because we're so focused on the virtual world that we've almost forgotten what it is like to pick up the phone and actually make a call to a friend or catch up.
Absolutely, because if you look at this, my problem is privacy concern, of course, for younger girls who are targeted for sexual abuse. There is so much harm. If you read the data that's collected by a lot of people, especially if you look back to what's happening with Meta, There is so much targeted audiences, depending on also the content you watch and what you view, they're collecting data. But most importantly, there is so much harm that's being caused to the younger generation, be it a boy or a girl. So the extensive collection of personal data and privacy breaches have raised significant concerns about the misuse of, user information, its potential exploitation. I mean, mental health, for example, excessive use of social media has caused people insomnia, anxiety, depression, self-esteem issues. I mean, the youth is constantly thinking about how can I better myself physically or look better materialistically than really internally working on who they are who they are and how to blossom and grow into this beautiful human being or this beautiful lady or a beautiful man they're meant to be, whether whatever sex, caste, creed, gender you are. Everyone is unique because you can see our fingerprint, our thumbprint. It is the most unique thing we all have. None of us have the same thumbprint. So this uniqueness that we have, we all want to copy paste and look like each other. We want to look like clones.
We are losing our individual identities.
So leading into a mental health crisis all over the world.
Yeah.
Then the rapid spread of fake information on social media has, crazily contributed to societal polarization. You're undermining the trust of actual traditional media. And post that they're actually posting significant changes and
I
letting the people out there know
so
the information.
Much hate
you
out
are
there.
actually,
Absolutely.
and you're trying to actually, you are actually trying to manipulate the actual information, undermining the significant traditional media.
Facebook has even been accused of influencing voters in the US elections, not to mention the hate that it often fuels, the disinformation that it often contributes to. Alankrita, hold that thought. I need to take a quick break here, but on the other side, we will discuss this issue further. How Facebook and social media have changed our world.
हमारी नारी शक्ति को सशक्त करने से ही देश सशक्त होने वाला है।
हर महीने महिलाओं को 1500 रुपए प्रति माह दिलवाया जाएगा।
What Nitish Kumar did to provide cycle to girls, so they could safely, quickly move out of the house, go to school, and quickly come back. Tring, 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 tring.
माँ अन्नपूर्णा तू ही, माँ अन्नपूर्णा है तू ही बीणा वादनी, हे शक्ति स्वरूपा जगदम्बा, हे नारी तू नारायणी।
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the...
Bangalore traffic is an example of something that has gone wrong with our system.
We have more than 50 flyovers in Bangalore city. If flyover is a solution to traffic problem, Bangalore should not have traffic problem.
According to TomTom Traffic Index 2022, Bangalore is ranked as the second worst city in the world when it comes to traffic.
The speed limit at the ORR is 80 kilometers per hour, but our vehicle has only moved 10 kilometers per hour.
What Bangalore needs is a surgery, but what we have been offered repeatedly are band-aids.
Only on the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
A defiant performance by Ten Hag's men. Now standing at 7 feet 4 inches, Satnam Singh is making his way into professional wrestling.
We are getting more good news for India.
For the very first time in our investigation, we unmasked the killer of Ravindra Matre.
In 5G, we have to stand with the world, and in 6G, we have to lead the world.
Winning a Grammy was an absolutely surreal experience.
वर्ष 2070 तक नेट जीरो का लक्ष्य हासिल करेगा।
There is certainly a wall of capital coming into the clean tech, climate tech space, not just in India but across the world.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna, and we're talking about 20 years of Facebook and how the world's most popular social media network changed our world, transformed our lives beyond recognition and irreversibly. Let me go across to my guest. Tuti, let me come to you at this point. You know, we've talked about how, of course, Facebook helped us reconnect with people in our world, unlike anything in the past. But we are also talking about the dark side to it. We've seen how it's often been accused of fueling hate, disinformation, propaganda, polarizing political views. But there is another aspect that directly impacts you, me, everyone. They say, when you get something for free, you are the product. Let's not forget how much money Mark Zuckerberg has made in the last 2 decades by using your data, my data, our personal data. He has become one of the richest men in the world. How do you feel about not just the fact that many believe that privacy is a thing of the past, now that we're all social media addicts, but that, you know, personal data is no longer personal?
Yeah. Now, I'm very glad you picked this up. You know, how many times we've said this aloud with so much wonder, saying, oh, I just spoke about this product, or I was just thinking of this, and suddenly it comes on my timeline. And it's, of course, now we all know, not coincidence, not some magic. It is breach of privacy. It is the fact that today, you know, it's laughable, the concept of privacy, because all your data is with these media giants, and they are selling it, whether we like it or not. You know, I have a slightly different perspective, and the reason for that is because social media is here to stay. It's transformed our world, and if anything, what we can expect is for it to be far more intrusive than it already is. We're talking about 20 years of Facebook. After that, there's Instagram, there's WhatsApp, there's X, and we've just seen how they've become such a part of our lives, of our professional lives, of our personal lives, that today, to say that you do not have an online identity, you do not have a Facebook or an Instagram account, is a luxury that a lot of people cannot afford, because that is where you work. Today I cannot say that, I want a social media detox, because my work will directly get affected. You have to be in touch 24/7. That's how news works. That's how news is consumed. That's how people stay in touch with each other. So the only thing that we can do is to have stronger cyber laws. I think that is something, like I said, now, we've lived with this phenomena. It's become a part of us. And now it's time that we understand it, we're self-aware, and we devise mechanisms where we are no longer taken for a ride as simply the product. We understand what our rights are. We understand where we draw the line. And I think that is very, very important, because social media is also such a powerful tool. So many times, I mean, we of course spoke about Punam Pand and how,
it was such a joke and it was such a circus everywhere, and it was really, unfortunate. But you cannot ignore the fact that today social media and your phone gives you the power also to call out people who are in the wrong, to highlight stuff that we otherwise would never get to know. So, videos from far-flung areas which one would never hope would reach people. Today, if something happens, I have used it, you have used it, where you want to record it and you want to put it on a social media platform, or you want to go live so that people see what is happening. So it gives you the power to raise your voice where it's needed. For a tool that is this powerful, I think what our focus now should be is that we need stronger cyber laws. We need to understand what our rights and duties are. It's almost, today, social media is almost a parallel plane on which all of us live. Just like we have a real address and we know that, somebody we don't know isn't allowed. We know what our rights are. We know what our duties are. Similarly, on the social media, our accounts are where we stay, where we put across all, everything that you can almost track what a person is up to by just following their social media accounts. And if you do it in a way where you're not self-aware, so many experts have spoken about how you make yourself vulnerable and expose yourself to all kinds of threats. So I think that is something that we really need to up our game about, because what social media can do, we've all seen, but what is it that we can do now so that we are not taken for a ride is, I think, really the direction that we need to move towards.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. We can't leave everything to Mark Zuckerberg or government regulators. I think we as social media users also need to take responsibility for our own safety and conduct on social media. We also have that responsibility. But Jitin, let me ask you this. Facebook, now of course known as Meta, has emerged as such a behemoth in the last 2 decades. It almost seems to enjoy some sort of a monopoly in the social media sphere. Along the way, it's bought WhatsApp, Instagram, Oculus, what have you. So it's been cannibalizing its rivals one after the other, and those rivals that it was not able to buy out, it was accused of copying those to maintain its dominance in the market. Now it is this massive tech empire. Mark Zuckerberg has become a billionaire, one of the richest men in the world, using our personal data and tapping into our vanity, if I may say. But it's done phenomenally well in the last 20 years. Can it keep going at the same pace for another 20 years? Because for all the advantages that Facebook enjoys, fact is, Jitin, and you understand this better than most others, it's a very fast changing world of technology that we live in today, with AI, for example, becoming so big. Do you think Facebook can survive that and continue to thrive in that environment for another 20 years?
I think, Neha, it's a $1 billion question, and there is a saying in Hindi, "Waqt ke samandar mein kai sikandar doob gaye." I mean, I think, in my opinion, Facebook, which is the way they have grown in the last 20 years, if you look at the history, I think they are waiting for their Kodak moment. I mean, Kodak and Nokia could not survive the new innovations. A phone company, a camera company died of a phone innovation, and a phone company died of a smartphone innovation. I mean, we can talk of many challenges of the great gifts Facebook has given in the last 20 years, or the challenges which has shown in last 20 years. Social networking, meeting your friends, meeting unknown people, posting your photos, looking for self-validation, validation from peers, jealousy, hate, morphing, disinformation, political campaigns, hate speech, trolling. You could count n number of good things and bad things in the last 20 years when it comes to Facebook. But what we have to look is look at the future of the social media in the next 20 years, how it is going to be. I mean, if you look at the evolution and the changing landscape of artificial intelligence and metaverse, I think the hate campaigns or the advertisement campaigns on Facebook or any of the social media platforms are going to be much more intrusive, much more direct. There is going to be much more hate, much more disinformation. We are going to look at the world where every second line you will read on social media may be a false thing. maybe a fake video, maybe a hate speech, maybe a guy trying to bully someone. And only the 20 to 25% content will be, will be a personal content or a content full of happiness and joy. So that is going to be the future when it comes to the content. Second, if you look at the evolution of metaverse, I think the way Facebook transformed your personal lives, took you from physical space, took children from playground to playstations, it took children from hostel gatherings to virtual chat rooms. I think in next 10 years, we could see Facebook trying to attempt to bring everyone into virtual reality using metaverse apps and virtual reality apps, where you will be spending much more time of your days and lives into a virtual world than on this digital space or even the physical world. And that is the reason why Facebook 3 years ago changed its name from Facebook to Meta, because Meta means their investment in the future into metaverse. They invested heavily in it. Of course, that has not materialized the way they thought it would be. But I think it's an idea which is waiting for its time to come. So I think next 10 years, we would see the evolution of social media platforms into virtual meeting spaces on metaverse, where people will be, using avatars as an extension of their personal entities, where we will be meeting friends, not in chat rooms or digital spaces or Instagram lives. We'll be meeting them in our real avatars in the virtual world. I think that is going to throw up a challenge of addiction. People living in split realities, people turning the splits, the personality syndromes. People would be much more concerned about what are happening to their avatars in a virtual world than to their own physical self in a real world. So I think that is going to be the challenge, and we don't know how the world is going to be if the artificial intelligence becomes sentient, if they develop emotions, if they develop much more learning capability like human minds, their ability to think. What we are seeing is just the first or second generation, learning models like ChatGPT and all, which are only able to comprehend, maybe able to write the way you do, maybe able to answer the way you do by analyzing vast amount of data. But the moment they develop any sort of sentience, any sort of real human emotions or human ability to think and comprehend, I think it is going to be a much more challenge. And then we'll be transforming from a world from Google or Alexa or Instagram to a world of metaverse, to a world of artificial intelligence. And that will be a world which will be full of hate, disinformation, and a challenge of your own personal safety and cybersecurity.
I must say, Jitin, that you've painted a grim and scary picture, but then this is a reality that we cannot run away from. We've got to confront it.
3 years from now,
yes.
3 years from now, I can 100% bet we will not be able to differentiate where we are talking to Neha Khanna in the show or a Neha Khanna's 3D avatar, which is conducting session using a generative AI module. So that is already happening today using deepfake videos. Now, deepfake videos combined with artificial intelligence and generative AI is going to be the future.
I must say I'm as terrified as I'm amused by the scenario that you've just painted. But Jitin, this could be a reality a few years from now. As you rightly point out, there is no escaping it. Alankrita, you've heard our other two panelists, some very interesting perspectives here. Jitin says that virtual reality, artificial intelligence and metaverse are the future. They're going to throw up all sorts of dark dimensions and ugly realities for us to confront, but there is no escaping it. Stuti has referred to the Punam Pand episode, and I was wondering if you have a take on it. For 2 days running, this woman was trending on social media, the talk, big talk in social media circles, drawing room conversations everywhere. And with the big reveal that she made on day 2, there was a lot of anger and outrage, and I must confess that I was one of those who felt very deeply offended by what I saw and what many people saw as a trivialization of an issue as serious as cervical cancer. While Punam Pand and her PR agency claimed that the purpose was to create awareness about cervical cancer, many believe this was done for publicity and self-promotion. It was nothing more than a cheap gimmick that may have caused a lot of hurt to families of cancer victims.
People suffering from cancer.
I wonder what your take on that is. Was Punam Pand just leveraging social media the way many others do today, or was it abuse of social media?
Yes, thank you for your question. So basically, I was horrified by the news that a lady passed away from cervical cancer, and her name is Punam Pand. Well, I'm aware of her, but I would say, acquainted by her name. I don't really watch any of her content. But the point is that it's outrageous for a lot of people. It is, some people say, wow, it was a great way of campaigning and speaking about cervical cancer. But I feel like I mentioned before, the multifaceted impact of social media has, for me, the three things: the social connectivity, sharing information, and business opportunities, right? When you're sharing such sensitive information, especially when it's related to someone's death, murder, rape, scenarios which you as a normal person do not want to imagine, do not want to think, do not want to feel, because at the end of the day, we still are sympathetic. No matter who dies, we're sympathetic for a dog dying, we're sympathetic for somebody we've heard of. When we see on social media that someone's passed away, you feel something because you're human, right? You feel that sense of emotion that, oh my God, so sad for this person, right? But when that was completely backfired, this was a political, this was society, social movement made to create awareness about such a critical, emotional, overwhelming issue, cancer. We all dread the word C, right? And now you've made the most, I think it's for me as a woman, I am so particular with my routine checkups to make sure nothing happens, because we're always, and I'll tell you why. Because we live in a world where the moment we Google what's going to happen to us, we're going to die. Or we're extremely sick, or we're extremely in trouble, because what we read is what we're consuming is what subconsciously our mind is aiding as well. So that's why they say the brain is not the first thing that perceives information. It's your eyes, because what you see is what you're consuming, is what in the end your subconscious and conscious mind is reacting to. So when I heard about Punam Pand, I felt really bad. I was like, oh, thing. And I told all my friends, this girl, she passed away. Oh my God, I feel so bad, guys. Now that we have cervical cancer injections in India, please make sure your daughters, your cousins, your sisters all get the 3 doses that are important. And then I find out that this was a gimmick. No matter how important and how critical this issue is, you do not joke with being dead. You do not joke about death. You do not joke about cancer. You do not joke about something that people have already suffered from, their families are still suffering from, or they could be in a position where death is sensitive, right?
It must have been triggering for so many people.
Yes. So I feel that this is not a business opportunity for a wider audience. You're not marketing a product. You're not engaging with customers. You're not revolutionizing advertising and e-commerce here, right? This is health, wellness, the human emotion that's connected to life. We all that are connected, our body is our
Alankruta, this takes us back to the point that Stuti was making. While we go on and on about, how our safety often gets compromised on the social media, what about the fact that with power comes responsibility? If you have the power of social media at your disposal, especially as a celebrity or a known face, you've got to exercise that power with responsibility. Now, I do not think for a moment that Punam Pandey is a role model for young people, but my point is, whatever your role or position in the social hierarchy, I don't care about that, but exercise the powers at your disposal with responsibility. We all have got to do that.
Absolutely. So to that I would like to add, because, I was thinking about the wonderful speakers who are a part of our panel, that, whether you're, today people live in, to be very honest, I am an actor, I'm an artist. There are people more famous than me getting more views, more likes, because of the kind of content that's generated today. It's because people are consuming it like it's Pac-Man eating up its little chips, right? And the kind of information that's being given out, people like it. It's like if I put out something which is heartfelt, I put up a TED talk about, empowering myself and the people around me, or engaging in something more socially uplifting, I probably might not get that many views, but that's what I said. The audience is also responsible for what it wants to consume and what it wants to see, and how they can moderate that. So coming back to how we can create a safer environment for women, men, LGBTQ, our fathers, our parents, the younger generation, is first of all enhance content moderation, like implementing more like robust content moderation strategies to like swiftly identify and remove harmful content, including hate speeches, bullying, and misinformation, like privacy protection, for example. Providing users with more like a granular control over their privacy settings and ensuring like transparent data, because the usage policies is always there to safeguard your information, right? And mental health, especially introducing like features to promote positive engagement, mental well-being, such as like time management tools, mental health resources, prompts for like a mental health online behavioral class, or meeting somebody online, like fact checking and information verification. Because I feel like strengthening efforts to combat misinformation by partnering with like maybe fact checking organizations which are there in the world today, and improving algorithms to prioritize credible resources, because today everybody is on Instagram, they're bots or they are like fake accounts. Everybody's buying a tick mark to feel validated. People who are not even verified on Instagram are trolling you and abusing you and saying horrible things to the men and women out there. Community
the cover of anonymity that these people have also is a big problem. The fact that they think that they can go after you, say what they like without any consequences, because social media gives them that cover of anonymity.
Absolutely, because the community guidelines is not enforced. Because enforcing community guidelines consistently and transparently while providing clear mechanisms for reporting and addressing violations is so important. If I see some content where I'm tagged, to be very honest, they're horrible things they keep tagging women in. I'm telling this is a violation of my privacy and me being a woman. I would not like to see this content. I don't want people like young girls are being tagged in like weird sex videos, to be very honest. There are young boys talking about suicide if they don't get something.
And sexual predation is another major factor for young people, for young boys and girls on Instagram and other such platforms. And the perils of trolling and hate and misinformation apart, I think with Punam Pand faking her own death, the joke was on all of us, and therefore there is also a lesson in there for all of us. Do not believe everything that you see or read on the social media. Apply your mind. We still have a functioning brain. Don't leave it behind.
Exactly.
I'm completely out of time. Okay, very quickly, Alankrita. I'm completely out of time.
Yeah, I only think that, as he mentioned about AI, because AI is being created by us. This is our brain, our mastermind, our everything is right here. And if we socially engage with whatever we are seeing, whatever we are collaborating with, we can, there's what I would want these portals to do, and is collaborate with experts, researchers, stakeholders to like continuously assess and improve platform safety to stay ahead of the emerging online risks.
And you know what that joke is, and Jiten might agree that it's great that artificial intelligence is going to play a great role in our lives, but what do you do about natural stupidity? But on that note, I'm completely out of time. Okay, Jiten, one sentence.
Just 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You're talking about a company which in a span of 20 years has wielded so much of power today that it can decide today that a sitting US president with a mandate to handle nuclear weapons will be deplatformed from a social media network. And a terrorist organization which carry out suicide bombings and mass assassination on a football field will be given blue ticks on Facebook. So that's the power they yield today, and that power must be checked with full accountability and responsibility.
All right, well said. On that note, Alankrita Sahai, Stuti Ghosh, Jiten Jain, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you.